Hey guys, welcome and welcome back. If you have ever wondered why it is easier for you to understand what I'm saying, even without looking at the subtitles, but it's way harder to comprehend what native speakers say, either in day-to-day conversations or in videos. Well, I have analyzed this question in depth from 3 aspects. And the first aspect would be the speaking speed and vocabularies we use. So me personally, I'm a slow speaker. Like in any means, I speak slowly either in English or in Chinese. So if speaking in a relatively slow pace is good for you as a language learner, that'd probably be a natural advantage. And further, because I'm not a native English speaker, I need some extra time to think when I speak. And because this is my second language, I have to do a little bit of translation, like I said in one of my previous videos. Although we can shorten this process or make it more smooth by practicing or by training our speaking skills, but for my current stage, I'm not a language expert or English expert in terms of speaking. So that's the reason why I sometimes have to pause and come up with the next sentence, or like to compare the appropriate expressions mentally before like speaking something out. And in terms of the vocabulary I use, well, I tend to use some very basic and simple vocabulary, if you have ever noticed. So for example, if there is a $1 word and a $10 word of expressing a single meaning, I'll probably pick the $1 word, to be honest. Like if I can say careful, I wouldn't say meticulous when I speak. We usually use the more advanced versions in our writing instead of speaking, right? So this demonstrates a point. If you know some very basic words or simple vocabulary, you are capable enough to express yourself or to make yourself understood, at least in day-to-day conversation. Yeah, don't be intimidated by speaking. It's not as hard as you thought. And look at me. I don't use fancy vocabulary. I can still speak, right? And the second aspect is about linking and connecting words. You might have already noticed native English speakers like to link and connect words when they speak. And they try to cram everything into one single sentence. And because they have that habit of speaking, they tend to speak really fast. So here is a very typical example.
And soon enough, those dreams die, and our bunny sinks into emotional and literal squalor, living in a box under a bridge, till finally she has no choice but to go back home with that cute, fuzzy-wuzzy little tail between her legs to become... You're from Bunny Burrow, is that what you said? So how about a carrot farmer? That sound about right?
So it seems like they wouldn't like to take a breath unless they finish everything they want to say in one sentence. And in addition, I would say native English speakers like to speak in a high energetic state. And you probably had the experience that when you're flushed with emotions, you tend to speed up when you talk. Compared with me, I'm just sitting down talking to you guys. I'm not in a super emotional state. I don't have to be dramatic or something. That might also make it easier for you to hold the information I try to deliver. And the third aspect, which is probably the most important aspect, is the mindset or the way we comprehend linguistic tools. Well, because I'm Chinese, you are also Chinese, we share similar knowledge of encoding linguistic rules or linguistic meanings. However, in a different language or dealing with different language speakers, they have different understandings of a single linguistic phenomena. So a very simple example would be the negative question in English. So what is a negative question? Well, take a very simple example. If I go to the grocery store and I check out at the cashier, if I carry a bag, the cashier would usually ask me, you don't need a bag, do you? So this is an example of a negative question. They ask this question in negation. So if I follow my normal logic, I would think, well, this cashier assumes I don't have a bag. and she or he asks me because they want confirmation from me about their assumption. Like if I say yes, I just confirm that I don't need a bag. So I tend to respond yes. However, from their perspective, this answer doesn't make sense. They are looking for the answer to the question whether you need a bag or not. So if I respond yes, they would assume, okay, you need a bag. So if I have to follow their logic, I have to respond no, because I'm saying no to this bag, because I don't need this bag. Okay, one solution to this type of question is very simple. You just need to give more information instead of just saying yes or no. So for example, you could say, no, I don't need a bag, or yes, I don't need a bag. So answering yes or no is no longer important as long as you add further information. But if you only answer yes or no and you stick to your logical pattern in your linguistic rules, it probably would cause some confusion. Well, with all those being said, whether you find it easier to comprehend videos made by Chinese people or by native English speakers, that is not that important. I think what truly matters is to be aware of the differences between the speaking of native speakers and language learners, because different languages have different linguistic rules, right? Learning another language is not simply doing some translation. So yeah, resources made by native speakers and language learners are equally valuable, I would say. You just need to be aware and start with whatever is easier for you and dive into deeper depth. Yeah, this is the end of this video. If you like it, please remember to 一键三连. And there is a very important announcement at the end of this video. 是这样的，朋友们，就是针对于我之前出过的视频，关于发音、语音、语调、连读、弱读，就那一系列，我想提供一个后续的辅导的一个服务吧，或者说课程也可以，就是说会涵盖纠正发音啊，纠正读法呀，纠正语音语调，纠正就是针对于如何把英语读好听这一部分。我目前初步想的形式是这种线上的，然后1对1，最多不超过1对2的形式，所以就可以做到更个性化，然后也更有效率。我觉得这部分内容也不是特别多，也不是特别难，所以说就如果只是说上课来讲的话，我估计1个小时到2个小时就够了。就如果你有这方面的需要，或者是你感兴趣的话，你可以给我私信，或者是给我发邮件，然后我会把更详细的，包括上课的形式啊、时间呀，然后更具体的一些信息再发给你。之所以把这个放到视频的最后讲，是因为我知道看视频看到最后的朋友也不会特别多，就如果你看到这里，就至少证明你是比较信任我的。然后因为我现在也只是在尝试这样一种形式，我也不想把这个体量搞得特别大，但我可以保证的是，如果我确定要做这件事的话，我肯定是会对你很负责、很上心的。所以说就欢迎给我发私信，给我留言，咱们一起摸索，一起成长，好吧？拜拜。And try to. What is this noise? Oh my god. Hey guys, welcome to another chit chat. Today I want to share some of my observations of gender difference based on my experience in the last couple of weeks. So this quarter, I had a lot of papers and essays to write. And that's why I went to the undergraduate writing center for multiple times. Since I've been there a lot, I had the chance to work with girl PLFs as well as guy PLFs. Okay, so PLF stands for Peer Learning Facilitator. So those people are just some undergraduate students. They work at the writing center to offer help to people with their essay, like they review people's essays, they help them with the proofreading, they give revising suggestions, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's talk about the girl PLFs first. I think I've worked with 2 or 3 girl PLFs, and I would say all of them were super polite. and nice and friendly. They would give you a lot of encouragement. At least they gave me a lot of encouragement. So based on their response and their reaction, I was like, did I really have a good point here? Or did I really do a good job in writing this and that? Or they did this out of courtesy? When they gave me suggestions, they would say, I think probably changing this word to that would be better. Or you can keep your opinion, but from my perspective, this statement is not that strong. Probably you can blah 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 and blah blah blah. So what they did was to confirm your effort first and give some revising suggestion. And they gave those comments in the very polite way. They were trying to make you super comfortable. They didn't even want to offend you for a little bit. For me, sometimes I felt like they were not like reaching out because they spent time on making sure I was comfortable. But yeah, I just want to improve my essay. Like I don't mind being offended, like as long as you had a very good point, right? So here comes our second example of a guy PLF. So the guy PLF was super different in terms of the style. He was extremely straightforward. He didn't spend much time on confirming your work. Instead, he wanted to point out the weaknesses in your essays and make sure you gain something after talking to him. And in that appointment, like for a couple of times, I felt like a little bit embarrassed because I didn't do well enough in my essay to answer his question. So for example, after reading my essay, he said, I think you had some good stuff here, but he asked me a question. So why do you tell me this? Like, why should I care? And that question suddenly got me because I just followed my own logic flow. I just wrote what I thought was valuable to talk about. In that situation, I definitely felt a little bit offended. I felt like he was questioning the value of my statement or the backbone of my essay. But in the meantime, I also agreed with what he said, because I didn't care that much about the audience perspective. Because of that, I knew I had to do a lot of editing because my essay wasn't getting to the gist. I didn't bring out the most important part, the why part, the purpose of my essay, the intention of my statement. But with all this being said, to be honest, I don't mind if your question or your comments or your criticisms were a little bit offensive, as long as you had a good point. Sometimes you just need people to punch you in the face and tell you the reality instead of giving you compliments and making you feel good. Okay, I probably rambled a little bit. So let's go back to the gender difference part. Well, I don't want to make this a stereotype, but I would say generally the girl PLFs, they care more about people's feelings, and they would like and they tend to give you a lot of encouragements. However, the guy PLFs in general were more straightforward and they would not ask for your opinions. I mean, they just tell you something directly. Like they wouldn't say, okay, I think you could change this word to something else. They just say, okay, this expression does not make sense. You should change this to that. So those behaviors gave me a sense that they were more confident and they knew their stuff. Like they were professional. And another example would be the private messages I received as an actual. I think I can easily tell the gender of the person based on his or her tone. Yeah, it's very interesting and very surprising. Without looking at their profile or clicking into their main page, you can just tell from their words, their wordings, the way they expressed themselves. For example, what normally girl followers would say were 小姐姐你好呀. They tried their best to not offend you. Like for example, 不知道这样会不会打扰你呀? 你可以怎么样吗? However, the guy audiences, they were like much more straightforward. They would say, 我最近因为什么什么在学英语，你有什么好的建议吗? Something like that. Okay, the main point I want to say is I wish girls could be more confident in terms of expressing opinions or interacting with people in general. You definitely care people's feelings. I mean, that's really good. That means you could put on other people's lens. You can see the world from other people's perspectives. However, you don't have to compensate efficiency just to make people feel comfortable. And I've also heard the suggestions for females to not use phrases like could you please that often in emails. You don't have to do that. You can be straightforward. There's no problem. You don't have to worry too much about people's feelings because in most cases you're doing right. Well, I'm not a gender study professional. I have a friend who is very interested in gender study and gender differences in general. Yeah, and I also find some phenomena very interesting about like gender differences. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. Please, 一键三连, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.